Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Phateh. So this is the first video in the sound section. These 40 akkar in Gurbani, what we're going to do is go through those by dividing them up. So how we're going to divide them up is we're going to first do the video of the sounds that are the same, which is this one, to English sounds, and then we're going to do a video on those sounds that are not the same but they're a combination of sounds that are in English with a little bit of emphasis in different areas, and we're going to call that the combination sounds. And the third video is going to be actually sounds that are unique to Punjabi or to Gurmukhi. So after we've gone through those three sets of sounds about the akkars, the fourth video will be about the laga matra, all of them in Punjabi, and then the fifth one will be the muharni. So let's go through those sounds that are the same already as sounds that are in English. I'm not going to start with Uda, Eda, Idi, the first three letters. I'm going to put those later on. I'm going to start with Sassa, S. Now this sounds the same as the English letter S, so the sound is very easy for us to replicate. So what we're going to do for each akkar is we're going to put a couple of words in English, which you're familiar with, and then we're going to put a couple of words in Gurmukhi or Punjabi that are going to be like the vocabulary words for using the akkar. Sasa, S. And the sound this makes is the same as if you said in English sit or soft. Now in Punjabi is seva or Sikh. Okay, S, that's the sound it makes. The next sound is ha ha, her. Very similar to the English words hand and his, her. Now the Punjabi words that you can make with this akkar, hai or hari, ha. Now the next letter is kakka, k. This is the sound it makes, k. Ka or cup, kirpan or kesh, our hair. The five kakkas, the panj kakkars, because they all start with this letter, kakka. Okay, so we're not going to go through obviously letters sequentially because some of those letters are not the same as sounds that are in English. So the next letter that is very similar is gagga, g. Now a simple word, good or give. Now in Punjabi, guru, g, guru, or gavo, sing, gavo. So this all starts with g. Next letter, cha-cha, ch. This makes a ch sound, just like you would say chair, or you would say chocolate, ch. Now in Punjabi, cha, cup of tea. Yeah, you're going to get offered a lot of that when you go to Gurdwara. And chapati. Chapati means the roti that we eat in our langar. So chacha, chapati. Jajja, j. Just like you might say just, we might call someone Jonathan, j. In the Punjabi, the words that you're familiar with already are like jug, like 4 jugs, char jug or kal jug. And also at the end of the ardas we say jo bole so nihal, jajja jo. So j. Nanna, n. Nose, n. Night. Punjabi words, nanak, nit, like nit name, n. Then papa, p, so that lips come together, p. English words, pan, point, p. And then in Punjabi, part means the prayers, or pagdi, pagdi as in our dastar. Okay, then babba, b. Just like we would say in English, big or bird, yeah, b. So in Punjabi, bal, strength, bal. Beej, beej means to sow a seed, or baaj, like we say baja wale. Baja wale means the one with the hawk. Mamma, m. For example, mother or miss, m. And in Punjabi, we could say words like muh, from your mouth, or mool mantar, very easy sound to replicate. Next sound, ya, y, like we say in English yes or you, y. And then in Punjabi, yodha, yodha means a warrior, or yoga, yog, y. Then lalla, l, just like we say love or life, l. And in Punjabi we can use words like live, like to have been in love with Waheguru, or langar, yeah, very common word you're going to get to, you know. So langar, l. Last few then, va, v. Just like we might say video or victory, v. It's not like w for w, but v for victory. And then Punjabi words, vaheguru, yeah, very common word. A lot of people write this with w, but actually, strictly speaking, it should be v, vaheguru, vaja, yeah. When we play the instruments, obviously nowadays the harmonium has become the vaja, but any instrument can be called a vaja, and that's v, vaja. Then shasha. This is sasse per bindi sh. This changes the letter. Same as, looks like S, but with a dot. It's called a bindi at the pair, at the feet. That's sh. And words that we know about, shabad. Sometimes, mostly in Gurbani, it will come as sabad, but shabad as well. And shaheed, yeah. So whenever we see the word shaheed, it will always have this pair bindi on the sasa, and it becomes sh. And then jajje pair bindi z. Just like we might say zebra in English. The name Zak. Words you might have heard before. Zafarnama. This is a famous Bani by Guru Gobind Singh Ji. Zafarnama. Z. The Char Sahibzade. Baba Zorawar Singh. Z. Then Phateh pair bindi f. F. Like fix. 5. F. And then in Punjabi, you'll see this come up all the time. Phateh. Or Farid, Sheikh Farid Ji, F. The three letters which I didn't put at the beginning of that are Uda, Ada and Edi. That's because these are akkars, but they're used for vowel sounds as well. And I'll show you what I mean when I come to the Muharani. So Uda, this makes a sound U. Uda, U. So imagine the English words put or foot. And in Punjabi you can use this uppar, uppar. Yeah, high up or above. Ustad, yeah, ustad, to praise God. Akal ustad, written by Guru Gobind Singh Ji. And then ada. Some people say ada, some people say ada, but it's the sound it makes is English equivalents of this, and, at, at. Punjabi words you've seen that start with this akara, angad, yeah, like Guru Angad Sahib, angad, or asa, asa. Now in English it's written A-I-S-A because actually it's just a, not asa. And then ed, ed. And some words you've seen with ed, exactly, starts with the e, exactly. Or India, e, starts with that sound e. In Punjabi, words you've seen already, ik, starts with the akkar ed, ik. A vowel sound attached to it makes it e, right? So you can make it with pa-yi. And in that, the second sound is e, pa, pa-yi. Okay, so those letters, in total, there was 19 of those. Those 19 letters, they're very similar to sounds that we can make in English, okay? So they shouldn't be too hard for us to learn those sounds. The next video is going to go through sounds that don't exist exactly the same in English, but you can make them with not too much difficulty. If I made any mistakes in that, please forgive me. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Phateh. Waheguru Ji Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Phateh. So in this video we're going to go through some sounds. These sounds are not exactly the same as sounds in English, but they're a combination of English sounds with some emphasis and some stress, and we can learn them quite easily as well. Okay, so the first one is kaka k. Now this sounds like kaka, like k, but it's more in your throat. It's more come with a bit more emphasis as kaka k. Okay, and words that we know about in Punjabi are like Khalsa or Khanda. Okay, these all start with kaka k. Next akkar is cha-cha ch, and this sounds a bit like cha-cha, but it's a bit softer and it comes more with a bit more breath into it. Cha-cha ch. And words that you would have seen with this cha-cha are like 6, che, or chote. Chote means younger, so chote sahibzade, the younger sahibzade. Or you would have heard chhatri, chacha, chhatri, and this is an umbrella. Tanka, it's another letter that is written down as T, but actually the tongue is still higher up. Tanka, topi, people wear a hat on their head, that's called a topi. Or you would have seen the word tabbar, this means your family. Then dadda, d, again the tongue is up, but it's with a bit more D rather than a T emphasis. Dadda, d. Words you would have seen with dadda are danda, danda means a stick, or daddu, a frog, daddu. Then tata, t. Here the tongue is not like English T, tongue is flat against the roof of your mouth. T, tata, t. So you would have used the word tata, tabla, t. Or you would have said tata, takht, like akal takht. Or tata teg, like big teg phateh, tata teg. And then tata th. Now it's like tata, but you make a lot more breath into it. Tata th. And words you would have used with tata, thali, or thal, which tin vastu payo at the end of an song. Th. Or thapi, which is like a pat on the back, and also means to give the guruship to the next person, and it comes up to side, thapyana jai. Then you've got letter dadda, d. Now again this is written as D sometimes, or DH, but actually it's a very soft D, d. The tongue is flat like the d, but instead of bringing the T sound out, you bring the d sound out. The words you would have seen with this are like darshan, dadda darshan, or deg, deg phateh, deg, das, dadda das. And the next word is tadda. Now tadda is like a combination of tatta and dadda, tadda, and with a bit more from underneath the breath comes up. Words you've seen already in Japji Sahib are like tol, which means a bull, a mythical bull that you hold up the whole word, but tol, or taram. So tol, taram, tarti, which means the whole earth, tarti. Papa. Now papa, the lips are still together. It's not like fafa, which was pape per bindi, fa. This time without the bindi becomes pa. Words you've seen are like pul, that means flowers, or pal, which means fruit. So there is a very small difference, just the onkar underneath the papa. So we have to be careful, yeah? Papa pul and papa pal. Or so that's why some people say phateh with phateh, is because it comes up in Gurbani this way as well as phateh, which means victory. And then the last akkar, rara r. Now rara, it looks just like, you might think it's the same as the English R, but it's not, because R, the tongue is up a little bit and you're going R, but this is R, rara R. The tongue is much more forward, and it doesn't roll as much like the French might, but it's still an R. And words you would have seen with R, rara R, rag, yeah, which means love, also means music, or Ram, which is used for Waheguru, Ram, or raae, Ram raae. Okay, mere Ram raae, that's r, ra ra r. Okay, so that's all the sounds that are a combination of Punjabi and English sounds, and not very hard for us to make. So let's practice this one again and again and again until we get them right. Bola chukka dikhiye bakhshin ji, Waheguru ji ka khalsa, Waheguru ji ki fateh. Waheguru ji ka khalsa, Waheguru ji ki fateh. So this video is going to be those sounds that are unique to Punjabi, that don't exist in the English language already, okay, and that can't be made by just combining two things. They're very unique, so we're going to have to work on these ones a lot more, okay. So the first sound is kaga, k, okay, k. Now it sounds a little bit like taking kakka and gaga together to make k. Words you would have seen with this very commonly are like kar, home, house, kar, and it can also mean our body, because our body is a home for the soul. Also you would have heard this word in kah, gaha, which means grass. Okay, or you would have actually used it already many times in sing. Okay, sing is g. It's not sing as in sing a song, but sing. Then there's nganga, nganga. Now nganga is in the line which is in kaka, kaka, gaga, gaga, nganga. So if we can concentrate upon where our tongue is in saying those four letters, kaka, kaka, gaga, gaga, nganga, then we can know where that sound's coming from. It's a nasalized nganga. And words will come up in Gurbani using this letter, but very rarely, are like nyan, nyan, okay, which means knowledge. Then chajja, chajja. Now chajja is like chacha and jajja together, almost. Chajja with a bit more from your breath, okay, from underneath, and chajja. So words you would have seen with chajja are like chanda, chanda, which means flag, okay, or chim, chim varse, chim, chim, which means it's falling down and it's making that lovely sound that rain makes when it hits the ground. Chim, chim. So this word chakkar, which means a storm. Chakkar. Okay, so obviously a lot of hard words in that one, but it does come up when Mother talks about how hard the weather might be, and the Sikh still goes to see his Guru. Chakkar, nyanya, nyanya, and that's in the same line as chacha, chacha, jajja, chajja, nyanya. So it's a bit more deep in your throat. Nyanya. The word that comes in Gurbani is nyatan, nyatan, which sounds like when you make yatan, nyatan, because it's got a bit of a yaya sound to it, but it's nyatan, ta, ta. And this is like you're pushing it out. It's very aggressive kind of word, ta. And you will see this like tug. Tug means a steel. Na omare, na thage jahe, a tug. And you see it's thanda, as in cold or cool, thanda. Then tadda, tadda. Now tadda sounds like a combination of tanka, d, and dadda, d, tadda. And this letter, this akkar, the words you've seen with this are like takkan, takkan, which means like a cover for a container, or tol, which is a massive drum that you would have seen in Bhangra, or they have it at the front of Nagar Kirtans, tol. Another word with tadda is taddi, taddi, which are the people that stand up in the Gurdwara and they sing woe ballads. The next akkar, raae, raae. This is called a retroflex. You see, flick the tongue while you're saying it. It says raae. Barni, barni. It's not bani in that instance, it's barni. And you flick the tongue while you're saying it. Raae, which just means no. Raae. Nan, nan. Now nana, na, and then nan, which means eyes. Nan. Then pabba, pabba. Now pabba sounds like papa and babba together. Pabba with a bit deeper emphasis. Pabba. Now words that come with pabba are like pagat or pagdi. Pagat means the person who is a worshipper of God, and pagdi being the very act of worship. Very commonly we use word pai, yeah, pai, which means brother. Then this one, this is the second letter that comes up with the retroflex. When you say ra, 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 ra. This letter actually is one of the words that we have to try and master, because that's why Guru Sahib put it right at the beginning of the alphabet. So we say u, ra, a, ra, e, di. All these words have ra in them. Yeah, they're designed because at a young age, if the child can master these two sounds, ra and ra, then it'll be easier for them in the Punjabi alphabet. So flicking your tongue and learning that. The last two are from that last line, which are not in the Painti Akkar, but they're the ones with the pair bindi at the feet of them. And the first one is kake pair bindi kh. This is because of the Islamic sounds that can't be made with the normal Painti Akkar. So it's kake pair bindi kh. And sometimes you'll see this used in the word khalsa as well. So you'll say khalsa and not khalsa. You make it a bit more in your throat, kh. And or the word khat, which means a letter, khat. You'll also see this word used for khuda, khuda, which is a word for God. And the last one is gagge per bindi g, g. And again, you're taking the g sound and you're making it a bit more throaty, g. And this is again an Islamic influence. So a word that you see with the gh, ghab, ghab, and it comes up in job sahib in this way, yeah, gabul ghab hai. And then you also see another word Garib, Gharib. So it's here, it's not just Garib but Gharib. And you also see it used for Ghazal, Ghazal. Then that bindi is put at the bottom. So Gagge par bindi, Gha. Okay, so we've gone through all 40 akkars now in Gurmukhi. And the next video is going to be about how to add the vowel sounds, the laga matra, to those akkars. And then after that we're going to go to the Maharni, which goes through every single sound inside Punjabi, and we can memorize those, and then hopefully our Gurmukhi letter forming will be much better. Forgive any mistakes I made in that. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Phateh.
Vaheguru, 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 Vaheguru.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Phateh. So we've gone through now why we should learn Gurmukhi and how does it work, and also we've gone through the we've gone through different types of sounds, which ones are very similar to English sounds, which ones are a combination, which ones are a little bit harder, we to work with unique ones. What we're going to go through now are 5 special letters which have a separate property as compared to other letters. And this is the 4th column in the 35 akkar, the Gurmukhi alphabet you can see over here. Obviously the first line is not really that, there's nothing hard in there, and the last line is not part, it's the 5 lines in between. These sounds, which you can see, the first one is Kagga, then it's Chajja, then it's Tadda, then it's Tadda, and then it's Pabba. As you can see now, when we talked about how these words are pronounced, they're all in the unique sounds. What we said is that these are normally the combination of the 1st column and the 3rd column. So for example, Gagga sounds a bit like Gagga and Gagga together, you get Gagga. And the same with Chajja, sounds a bit like Chacha and Jajja together, Chajja, right? Now, so that's the first and the 3rd. Now however, these sounds, if we look at them how they're written in Punjabi, so how would you write the letter Gagga? You can see now these 5 separately, you can see that how they're written out is Gagga is written, Gagga itself with a adak. This is we're going to talk about later on, but this basically means emphasis. And then you've got the letter Gagga, which if you look back to the 35 akkar chart is the 3rd column. What you end up writing when you write it in Gurmukhi to explain the sound, you end up writing it as the 4th column with the adak, and then the 3rd column, this is the letter that precedes this letter, you say Gagga, Gagga. Now that G is obviously one of the sounds that makes up that Gagga. So now it might be a bit confusing. Basically, this is how they're written in Punjabi. Gagga is always written as Gagga, Chajja is always written as Chajja, and then Tadda is always written as Tadda, right? And Tadda is written up as Tadda, and Pabba is written up as Pabba. Why have they got different sounds? Yeah, first is separate, second one is a bit different. Because for example, if you've got Kakka, it's just Kakka, always the same letter. Or Dadda is always Dadda. But why now Tadda, or this round, it's got a second sound? Because their sound changes. Initially their sound is that sound, the first one, the 4th column, yeah? So if these letters, if they're at the front of a word, and don't worry if you're not getting it, we're going to go through examples. If they're at the beginning of a letter, then the sound is that letter which is on the left, its own sound, which is like Gagga, Chajja, Tadda, Tadda, Pabba. However, because they've got the second part of their letter is the sound which is a bit different, if they're in the middle of the word or at the end of a word, then you don't pronounce the first sound, you pronounce the second sound. You take the Gagga, which has got an adak, and the Gagga, you then pronounce the Gagga with a adak. We don't pronounce Gagga by itself, it's a little bit more emphasis, the Gagga with the adak. And what you end up getting is in the middle of the letter, you will then get the sound g, yeah, not g. So the examples, so for kaga, now let's say you had the word kar, very common Punjabi word, and also in Gurmukhi is used to sometimes mean the body, which has a soul inside it, kar. Now if this sound, if this akkar, kaga, comes in the middle of a word or at the end of a word, it's not pronounced as k, it's pronounced as g. So let's look at a few words. So here's a word that we know, sing. Now when we say word sing, we don't say sing, right? What we say is sing with a adak, gaga adak. So sing, we pronounce it sing, but we write it as sing, yeah, with the gaga. We don't pronounce it as gaga. Also meg, you've seen the word meg, it comes up as rain, but we don't say meg, we say meg, but it's written as gaga. So just again, one example of that. Let's look at the akkar chajja. In this akkar, obviously a simple word you might have seen in Punjabi books, they use the word chanda, which means a flag. So nishan sab might be called a flag. Chanda now is pronounced as j, but let's look at two words where it's not at the beginning, like rag, maj. Yeah, now it's maj, but we're not saying maj, we're saying maj. Yeah, and again it's a j with a adak. Another word with chajja, we say suj, to say to understand something. Yeah, it comes up in Bani a lot. Now again with suj, we're not saying suj, we're saying suj, which has got a bit of an emphasis on the jajja. Okay, now let's look at the akkar tadda. Tadda, now tol, common word, Baaj, tol, mridang nagari from Swahili. Also other words you might have seen, teet, somebody who's a bit stubborn, not really listening to their guru maybe, teet. Now how do we put that, when we put that akkar tadda into a word, you've heard of words like gand. Now the word gand it means a knot, yeah, like tying a knot in something, but here instead of saying ganta, we're saying gand, which is, you can see, is a third column sound, which is a dadda with a bit of another. Another word that comes up quite a lot is guard. Guard means to take something out, like guard leho, take me out of this hell that I'm inside. Then you say, instead of saying guard, you're saying guard with a bit more finesse on the da. Yeah. So the last two examples, tadda. Now this is an interesting one because it comes up a lot. You know, I used to always ask questions about this one. So you got dharam, yeah, which means righteousness, justice, what we're working towards, or it can also mean religion in different contexts. Yeah. Now, or a duty. So dharam. So I used to always think this. We say sadhu or sad sangat. Now we don't say sat sangat. We don't say satu. We say sad sangat. So it's a dadda with a bit of an emphasis. And the same way we say sadhu or we say bandhan. Yeah, it's a d with this emphasis. Now it's not Hindi. In Hindi you would say bandhan, dha. It's not dha, it's d, bandhan, bandhan. Or like bandapaya mein Satguru pure, or bandhan tod. So people, Guruji breaks our bonds. So the word bandhan is like bonded, but it can mean to do worship as well. Because we're bonded to our Guru, we stick inside their hukam. Then let's look at the last one, which is pabba. Now pabba, pagat, very common word, or pagdi. This is at the beginning of a word. It's pronounced as pa. Now what if it was in the middle or the end? So we know the word kam, krodh, lob mo ankar. So we're not saying lob pa, we're saying lob with the emphasis on the ba. And also a common word, prabh. Yeah, we say prabh. We don't say prabh, pa, yeah, because it sounds weird, right? Prabh, yeah, it's babba with the other. So now this explains why sometimes these 5 akkars change their sound, right? The information in this video is from the website gurusevak.com. Yeah, very good one to read. I met Baba Jaswant Singh Ji in Canada, and some of these questions that I had about Gurmukhi were answered by them. And also just a little note upon these sounds. Now they're different from the Hindi sounds, right? So because I speak Hindi, they are not the same as using the Hindi sound. So just use the Gurmukhi sound. Now just one thing to note, sometimes if you say the word taram, that's tadda. If you say the word taram, you will still say taram, right? Why are you not saying dharam? Because actually you're still using the same word, dharam. Yeah, dharam means the opposite of dharam, yeah, unrighteousness. But you don't change the sound of the word dharam because it's a word in itself, but it's just got a prefix of So basically, when we use a word which remains the same, but when you put a prefix or a suffix at the end, it doesn't change its pronunciation. It stays the same. All we do is put the prefix at the front, and that helps because the sound helps you to understand the word, right? So you can't change the sound of the word if it stays the same. So those are the 5 letters of Gurmukhi. There's the reason why they have double pronunciation is because the letter itself is written in that way. It's got a double sound in the letter. As we said, if you look and see now, all those letters have a set 2 sounded, and all you do is at the beginning you say it this way, at the middle and end you say it the other way. So hopefully that will make that bit clear. Again, this is the reason why we need Santhya. We can't just pick up Gurmukhi and start reading it. We need someone to help us understand the words, and they will improve our pronunciation. And we need someone as a teacher, a Santhya teacher, to actually help us to pronounce it. So as you go through Japji Sahib Santhya, which we've got in our channel, is going to come on, then this will help you to understand why some words are pronounced in this way and not the other way. Otherwise, it does sound a bit weird to the ear to say words like Satu or Sat Sangat, yeah? Because they're not how we normally say them, and the reason is because these letters are special in that way. Okay, apologies for any mistakes that I've made. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
ਸਤਨਾਮ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ। ਗੁਰਮੁਖੀ ਲਿਪੀ ਦੇ ਅੱਖਰ ਊੜਾ 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 ਐੜਾ 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 ਈੜੀ 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 ਸੱਸਾ 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 ha 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 kakka 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 khakha 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 gagga 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 nganga 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 chacha 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 jajja 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 nyanya 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 tanka 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 ठट्ठा ਠੱਠਾ ਠੱਠਾ ਡੱਡਾ 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 ਢੱਡਾ 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 ਣਾਣਾ 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 ਤੱਤਾ 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 ਥੱਥਾ 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 ਦੱਦਾ 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 ਤੱਦਾ 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 ਨੰਨਾ 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 ਪੱਪਾ 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 ਫੱਫਾ 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 ਬੱਬਾ 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 ਪੱਬਾ 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 ਮੰਮਾ 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 ਯਈਆ 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 ਰਾਰਾ 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 ਲੱਲਾ 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 ਵਾਵਾ 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 ਰਾੜਾ 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 ੜਲਾ 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 ਸ਼ਸ਼ਾ 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 ਖਖਾ 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 ਗਗਾ 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 ਜ਼ਜ਼ਾ 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 ਫਫਾ 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 ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਸਤਨਾਮ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ। ਭੁਲਾਵੇਂ ਅੱਖਰ ਸੱਸਾ ਸ਼ਸ਼ਾ ਛੱਛਾ ਜੱਜਾ ਜ਼ੱਜ਼ਾ ਖੱਖਾ ਖੱਖਾ ਗੱਗਾ ਗੱਗਾ ਫੱਫਾ ਫੱਫਾ ਰਾੜਾ ੜਲਾ ਝੱਝਾ ਐੜਾ ਥੱਥਾ ਘੱਗਾ ਤੱਤਾ ਠੱਠਾ ਦੱਦਾ ਹਾਹਾ ਯਈਆ ਨੰਨਾ ਚੱਚਾ ਣਾਣਾ ਬੱਬਾ ਲੱਲਾ ਢੱਡਾ ਰਾਰਾ ññਾ ਊੜਾ ਮੰਮਾ ਪੱਪਾ ਵਾਵਾ ਕੱਕਾ ਟੈਂਕਾ ਭੱਬਾ ঙਾঙਾ ਈੜੀ ਡੱਡਾ ਧੱਦਾ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।